All right, we're back again. Special guest, a friend, a client, someone we just spent a lot of time with in San Francisco, getting to know in person. Robert Yuen, founder and CEO of Monograph. Really cool company, really cool guy. Robert, tell us a little bit more about you, Monograph, and what you're building.
Thanks for having me on again. That's really, really cool, and I love getting to know you guys in person not that long ago. Uh,
1 week.
I know. Look, like life is complicated. There's a lot of stories I can tell. What story do you want me to tell to give everyone a little bit better context?
Let's start. Before we even get into the who is Robert, let's start about Monograph. What is Monograph? What are you building? How long have you been building it?
Yep. Monograph is 6 years old. It's a project management, time tracking, invoice, payments. It's everything an architect needs and an engineer needs to essentially run their business. If it's not designing and if it's not drawing, we want to take care of it. And we've been around for 6 years now.
Amazing. And you started it with some co-founders, and now you are the last remaining of the co-founders still working in the business. Is that correct?
That is correct. I started the business with Alex and Mo. We started 6 years ago. All three of us have a background in architecture with various degrees of experiences. All three of us have like master's degrees. Both of them are really, really smart. They did their masters at MIT. I did mine at Michigan. And then I worked for like 10 years before starting Monograph.
So you were an architect. I think that's critical to know, and I think that's super cool as a SaaS founder too. It's like you went from a very different job from SaaS. You were literally an
Hmm.
architect. You found a
Yep.
problem in the market, and I think there was kind of a tumultuous story about how you were able to start Monograph in the first place, right? You got fired as an architect. Is that
I
correct?
did. I did. That
You
story's
got
pretty funny.
fired,
It was
and
the
then
only
you
time I've
pivoted
ever
into
got fired.
building. Yeah, that's an amazing story. So tell that story a little bit.
Well, I just want to make sure grammatically is correct. Yes, I worked as an architectural designer for 10 years. Legally speaking, I can't call myself an architect unless I'm licensed. I don't think a lot of people know that. It's like you can't really call yourself a doctor if you've not gotten your doctorate and passed your exams. The same applies for architecture. 10 years, almost licensed, but I didn't get it. Legally speaking, not an architect. And yes, you're right. Like I was fired. The last job I was working for a husband and wife firm here in San Francisco. Um, and the work was amazing. I had a great time there. But the hours were really, really long. And I already had a side project going on nights and weekends. I was taking a red eye every Friday to fly into either Tennessee, Virginia, or Boston to teach. So my little side project was a ed tech type of scenario where I was selling workshops into universities who had incredible facilities, but not the right teacher to teach it. At the same time, I had a hard time finding a teacher because no one wanted to move out to the middle of the Bible Belt part of the United States. So I reached out to the deans and was like, hey, like I can come in, I can kind of band-aid the problem a little bit, and I'll teach, but only on the weekends. So I flew red eyes every Friday, taught Saturday, Sunday, a red eye back, and right back to work Monday morning. The problem is, obviously, I can't work and do actual design work on Saturday and Sunday, um, right? Because I was busy teaching.
So as an entrepreneur, I know you're the type of guy, you work nonstop. You're a hustler. Um, which is something I want to talk to you too, because I read something. I don't even know if this is accurate because we never talked about this. But you yourself, knowing you in person and just working with you, you're a workhorse, you're a machine. And most entrepreneurs are, especially successful ones. But do you give your team 4-day work weeks? Is that a thing?
You dug it up. We did.
Yeah.
We did. It was a belief that me, Alex, and Mo that if we built the team right, there could be a scenario where the same amount of work could be done in 4 days than companies can be doing on a 5 day. And we really believe that. And actually, it worked for quite some time. Um, there's a lot of learnings along the way, though. I do believe when the team is small, and when I say small, let's say 10 people or less, and you are really high density of incredible talent, all 10, everyone is accountable for what they're doing and what they need to get accomplished. You don't need to count days. You can do a lot of work in 4 days, and you don't need that fifth. What I've
How
also
long did you have that model?
huh?
How long did you run with that model?
I think we had it up until we were probably almost 30 people.
And how many people are you now?
We're 100.
Insane. That's insane. Congratulations. I mean, that's awesome. I feel like I already knew that, but it's crazy to hear you say it out loud.
Well, I can tell you the 4 day breaks very fast after 10. people.
Yeah.
And we just didn't know. Like first time founders, first time entrepreneurs, like never built a scaling business of that pace. There's internal operational workflows that just starts to break, and you need that fifth day.
Yeah. And I feel like your story is also super unique in how you built Monograph because it has, I know this from talking to you last week. That lunch conversation was a ton of fun. But your story is not linear. It's not a clear path on how you got there. You know, it's like you had two founders, they're no longer in the business. You've had all kinds of personal struggles that have happened throughout the course of your life along the way. You've been through a lot. At one point, you told us you were actually homeless. So tell that story and how you went from homeless to successful startup founder with 100 employees. You've raised just around $50 million in funding. You know, you're crushing it. So talk to us about that story.
Like, yeah, that was a really hard time. Um, I was in between personal situations at the time, and I didn't have a place to stay. But we did have an office. And then my two co-founders, my dear friends, and we're still really, really dear friends, even though we don't work together. We're living in the Mission, and they had a two-bedroom, and they lived together, and their significant others. But their bathrooms were also in their bedrooms. Which meant like even if I slept on the couch, like it would be, it would be kind of uncomfortable. Um, During the entire seed round, I didn't have a place to stay, so I just slept in the office. I slept on Alex and Mo's couch. I showered at the gym, um, and like the air mattress on the office floor worked for almost, I would say, probably 9 months.
Insane. While building a successful company too. It's not even like the company was struggling so much. It's just I don't think people understand the dedication it takes to show up every single day, sleep in your office and not burn out. And maybe you did burn out a little bit, but you got through it, whether you did or you didn't.
Well, look, I think exhaustion happens to everyone. I don't know about
Yeah.
if I would use the word burnout. Because like when you really like to do something, you're just gonna do it. You don't see it as work. Every founder friend I know, we all work hard, but we don't call it work.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
Like it's what you want to do. What else are you gonna do? Like it's what you want to do, so you're just gonna do it all the time. Now, if you don't take care of yourself, you're gonna get tired, and that's we're humans, and that's gonna naturally happen. So you're gonna run really, really hard, and then eventually you're gonna have to take a little bit of break, slow down, recover, and then go hard again.
Yeah, I think those breaks, I personally struggle with them. I struggle to take a break. I get severe anxiety if I'm anywhere but this desk that I'm standing at right this second. Like I could have my computer, I could have other monitors, but if I'm anywhere but this desk, I just get anxiety that I'm not maximizing my potential. And frankly, I can tell you from experience, that's bullshit. We've done trips together, like we were just with you in San Francisco. The business was growing while we were there. Things are going well, but that anxiety for me is just critical, and that causes me to get exhausted quicker. But I don't know. Do you experience anything similar? I feel like you're a pretty stable guy, or you stay pretty much. I'm always every time I see you, you're in this exact room. So I don't know.
I look, like, I think building a business is kind of like complete chaos all the time. You never know what's going to happen. So you kind of need a lot of things around you to be stable. So yes, I am in this exact spot all the time. I'm quirky about where everything is. I like to have other things be predictable so I can deal with the unpredictability of work.
That's a great way to put it.
If not, because like imagine this, right? Like if you're every day at work being unpredictable, and then like your personal life and everything else is like also completely unpredictable. Yeah, like that's really really hard. Um, it's a little bit easier if you can keep one side of that constant.
That makes a ton of sense.
For sure. Um, Robert, one question I had was just about people you've met throughout your journey, and mentors that you look up to. Like, who are some of those people? Um, Whether they were early on in your journey or you met later on. Love to learn a little bit more about like mentors that were important to you.
Um, I personally call a lot of people friends, professionals, mentors, and they've changed throughout certain eras of growth, and I really believe that they should. There's a certain framework that I always remind myself, like try to find someone that's only like two steps ahead of you, and that person will probably be an incredible mentor. Find someone who's really, really seasoned, and that person is going to help you with your mental space, mental head space, mental clarity, and then have a lot of people that are actually a few steps behind you. I find it incredibly recharging to like talk about work because it actually helps clarified, right? Like if you got to explain what you do, how you do it to someone who hasn't been there yet, it is actually helping you reaffirm what's important. So I think constant, and then because the business is growing, you have to kind of like swap out all three of those tiers. In the early days, one of the first team members at Monograph, his name is Stanford, still a dear friend of mine. Seasoned, he's seen a whole bunch of fundraisers in the valley for years before helping with Monograph. And I wouldn't have been able to raise the round without his advice. And I still remember it to today. It was like, Robert, you're a really nice guy. You work incredibly hard. You're never gonna close a round if you stop being you gotta stop being a nice guy. And he didn't mean like personally not be a nice guy, but like he meant I had to be aggressive. I had to be clear in what the timeline was, the mission is, and either get on board or not. Till this day, like I still remember that advice. It's like as long as you're too nice, like it's not gonna work. Get in there with clarity, command the room, and the round will close pretty quick.
Honestly, I could see that you've received that advice just from like spending time with you in person. You definitely have the authority in a room. Like you definitely know how to command the room. You know how to be very clear in your communication. You communicate like an executive. Was that natural to you, or was that a learned thing?
Like I think natural is weird, right? Like, can you imagine a kid that's already like super focused on being? No, I think I had parts of it maybe growing up, and then it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of honing in, and it takes a lot of self awareness. But I do believe I'm a big sports guy too, and I love basketball. So like, just practice, practice, practice. You're never gonna
Yeah.
hit perfect, but the more you do something, you're bound to get better at it. Everyone's gonna grow at a certain rate, but like, no one's gonna ever escape, the need to practice something. So practice.
Yeah.
There's a couple things I do all the time. We still have weekly all hands. We don't make them monthly, so like, I speak at all of them. Good days, bad days, good months, bad months. Like the team needs to hear from the leaders, so like you get a lot of practice.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And like I'll toot my own horn here a little bit, but I feel like I was naturally born with the ability to show authority and like be that presence in a room and command a room. Yeah, like, no, I was definitely naturally born with that, but I was naturally not born with a lot of the softer skills, right? Like sometimes I'm too intense. Sometimes I throw myself into situations aggressively and people don't always take it the right way. So it's like for me, it's been the opposite. It's like trying to learn those softer skills and like practice, practice, practice. But I couldn't attest more to what you just said. Like the only way you do it is you get comfortable being uncomfortable
Yeah.
and putting yourself in situations that you really don't want to be in. And like Ali, I feel like we're very different personality wise, and we also balance each other out. Like I learn a lot of stuff from Ali, and I feel like hopefully he's learning a lot of stuff from me. But yeah, it's been huge just to, like have a co-founder in that way also for us that has basically the opposite skill set of you.
Like even though Alex and Mov decided to step away from the business, I would have not been able to build it without them. Because like
Yeah.
you're right, like having that balance, you need it. Building business is incredibly hard. We all had our three swim lanes, and we all swam in our lanes.
Yeah.
I handled anything that a CEO, sales, ops, marketing, anything that was customer facing fell into my lane. Alex focused 100% of his time on the product, and Mo focused 100% of his time in building the product. And only because of that we were able to get so far in the early days. Now, life does happen, like they both had and grew their incredible families. You do get tired and you do have to reassess where you want to spend your time. And it might not always be the same as all, the vision of all three. So they parted way with Monograph about 2 years ago.
And it was a very amicable parting, correct?
Yeah, we're still good friends.
That's amazing.
I go hitting golf balls with Mo almost every weekend.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
Helped him, and he's now raised around, and he's starting a business, so he's slotted into the CEO role. Jokingly, sometimes he'll like, Robert, the job is really hard. It's like, yes. uh,
Yeah.
Even though you're
Validating.
co-founders, right? Like you share the burden, but like I'm sure you two also give each other a lot of space. So like the job is very different.
It's trust. I think that's the key thing. Is like we told you briefly about our story in person, but like Ali and I have been close for I feel like it's coming on 16 years now. Like super close. Like we were really good friends in high school and we just got closer and closer and closer throughout the years. But because of that, there's just this inherent trust. I don't ever have to worry about anything. I know that if I don't have time for something, there's another version of me who is just as good, if not better, handling that thing. And then same thing with Ali. It's like anything he doesn't have time to handle or can't handle, it's the same thing. And it's like that trust has just allowed us to scale in a way that I couldn't imagine with a co-founder that I had just met or someone that was newer into my life. It's
Yeah.
like it's definitely a hack for us.
I think that's true for most businesses. You have to have an incredible amount of trust. There's no shortcut in getting that trust. You have to put in the time and get to know each other. So
Yeah.
comfortable that like you can do your own thing and you know whatever each other has to do, it's gonna get done.
Yeah, exactly.
I always warn against founders like, hey, I'm gonna start a business, I'm gonna do it by myself. It's like it's so hard. Please try to avoid it, and if you can't, then try. Like it's not impossible. There are incredible founders, there are solo founders, but it is substantially harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because even the job is lonely. Like even us being co-founders, there's not a lot of other people that can relate to the things that we're building, and so it's good to have somebody to celebrate with when there are wins, and then obviously be there together when the lows are there. And plus, if Alex does anything crazy, I can always just call his parents and rat him out or something.
No, but it's true. Like even our friends, like our friends that we grew up with, who we're still friends with, right? But it's like they don't want to talk about our business. They don't want to celebrate. Like they're great friends, but they don't want to celebrate your wins. Like they want to talk. People like to talk about themselves, and they like to talk about things that they can relate to. And it's like if we're doing something totally different, people don't want to talk about that. So just having like literally your best friend who you can talk about this stuff with every day, like you said, talking about business, it's really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. The good times are easy. It's the hard times that really starts to test things.
True. There is a question I wanted to ask you because you mentioned different mentors for different stages of your life.
Yeah,
I did some more digging on you. Your parents were entrepreneurs. Your parents ran a Chinese restaurant, is that right?
yeah, sure. Yeah, I will call them entrepreneur.
But you learned what it's like to just wear every hat and be
Yes.
an entrepreneur in that regard, right? So were your parents your first mentors?
Well, I think parents are first mentors to a lot of people, right? Like because you spend all of your early childhood with your parents. In most cases, that's absolutely true for me. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but my dad took a couple swings at opening Chinese restaurants, more than once. I'm the oldest. I have two younger brothers. Grew up really, really poor. So my dad naturally knew that there was free labor. So I spent a lot of time in Chinese restaurants and learned a lot. He cooked, he did everything in the kitchen, and then I stood on the chair and I did everything front of house. Like if you ever walk into like a family-owned restaurant, you see the little kid with the cashier taking the order. That was me. It was awesome. So I learned about money, learned about what it takes to kind of like run a small business. I learned how hard it is specifically to run a restaurant business. Um, Saw it all firsthand.
So I guess the
So
question
are
is,
you?
I was go ahead, Ollie.
I was just gonna ask. Were they immigrants? Did they immigrant to the
Yeah,
U.S.?
yeah. I'm born in Chicago, Chicago proper, so I'm really, really lucky. But both my parents immigrated to the United States from southern China. My dad has a wild story of how he got here. So, which actually is still an incredible story because he tells me that every time I call him and I have like a really hard day or a hard time with work. This was back in the day when China was closed border, and Hong Kong was still was a British colony. So the only way to get freedom was essentially to smuggle into Hong Kong. To do that, you had to swim. It's the most common way, and that swim was gnarly. It was like hours, middle of the night. My dad went with five friends. Only two made it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I think
Insane.
the story is like they were crossing, patrol caught swimmers, and then fired into the water, and like they didn't make it. And then my
Wow.
dad
Crazy.
and his best friend lived in Hong Kong for a while after they made it to the other side. They sold stuff on the street. They did whatever they had to do to kind of like get by. Finally, my dad got a break when my uncle was already here in the United States and sponsored him. And then that's how he got to the United States. So
You said your uncle
yeah,
sponsored your.
yes,
Wow, that's. So I'm also the child of immigrants. I was the first person in my family born in the States, and my uncle also sponsored my dad to come to the States. So it's interesting. And my
mm,
family also had a business, so it was like an analytical like testing lab. And just going like on the weekends in the lab, like I feel like it just teaches you something about entrepreneurship and just like caring about the work you're doing.
Yeah.
And then being the child of immigrants, it adds this like existential like level above everything because you realize like how lucky you are to be in Chicago or be in Atlanta or something like that. It really changes it.
The stories I hear are insane. Like I think I can do hard things, and like that's a completely different world. And I have one uncle. I'm sure that this happens to a lot of families. Like one uncle that was like did really really well, made it to the United States. He was a jeweler, and he alone is responsible for every single member of our extended family here in the United States because he just sponsored everyone. So he sponsored my dad. Eventually, my dad met my mom in China, then sponsored my mom, all my aunties, all my uncles. Like, it can all be traced back to that one uncle. So I have a lot of respect. That's my favorite uncle.
It's an awesome story. Oh, you didn't tell us that one over lunch. That's an awesome story. Yeah, no, that's a really cool one. Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to make that first move and then set everyone else up to have that freedom and have that ability to actually continue to do it.
It's a really fun story to talk even over like family events because like sometimes my dad being an immigrant was like, hey, like I came here to give you an opportunity. You're well educated as an architect. Why, WTF? Like you're gonna like you should you should be an architect. And you're gonna put everything at risk to do something that you have no idea how to do. And it's a software company. Why? And sometimes I have to remind my dad, it's like, hey, like you took a leap, and like I gotta take mine. And we all gotta live those moments in our personal lives. But like, it means a lot that I have to take my own leap too. And it was time.
And does he understand it now and support it now?
Now
I guess maybe he doesn't understand it. Does he support it?
he does support it. He does
Okay.
support it. He absolutely does support it. Like I think from his perspective, he's just like, look, I work really, really hard. You study so hard. I got 3 degrees in architecture. It makes no sense. And like it's incredible success that I've had thus far. Um, but he's still kind of like, very standard Asian dad. He's like, look, I want you to be an architect because you're an architect. And if you weren't an architect, I really wanted you to be a doctor. But you didn't go to medical school, so like you're not a doctor or an architect. You're an entrepreneur.
Well, you're making it happen. You're successful. And I think, as I'm not a dad yet, right? But I know my dad tells me all the time too. He's just like, I never expected any of the shit that you're doing right now. I still don't even understand what you're doing right now, but I'm proud of you. And sometimes from parents, that's all you need to hear. It's like just knowing your parents are proud of you is really all you need to hear. And like, that's enough motivation to just keep going.
My dad's really, really happy. He just came back. He did like a whole China, Japan trip.
Sponsored by Robert, by the way.
Sponsored by me.
Yeah.
With that friend that he swam with. So they're still friends.
That
and
is unbelievable.
he lives in Vancouver now, so they met up in Hong Kong, and then they did like the whole Hong Kong trip, a whole Japan trip. Um, and it was like my dad was so happy. He was like, dude, like whatever you want, like a fun day count. Just like you're like past 70, like just take it easy though. Like, nothing crazy. Make it back alive, but like other than that, have a good time.
That's something Ali and I both are completely aligned on too. Like both of us, we do have supportive parents. We're lucky. And we both try to give back to our parents too. It's like when you're in a position, your parents literally sacrificed everything in their entire lives to give you the life that you always had, right? Everyone grows up differently. Like Ali and I grew up similarly, I'd say. But it's like our parents worked their asses off to give us everything that we had growing up. And so now the least we can do is make their remaining years as joyous as possible, give them whatever they want, just give them a way to not stress about anything. It's like the best feeling in the world. There's nothing in my life I've ever spent money on that makes me happier than giving back to my parents. Literally nothing.
They spent so many years living with so little
Yeah.
that actually you don't need to give them a lot because they're not used to it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, Dad, I'll put you in business. It's like, why? That's a waste. Like I can sit and coach. Like I would rather spend that money on food. Like great, like you decide. As long as you're happy. I think it's really important. Take care of your parents.
Absolutely. So just to pivot the conversation a little bit, I would like to ask you, Robert, just about the product some more and features that you've been working on shipping. Is there anything exciting coming out for the Monograph product in the next couple of months that you're really excited to talk about?
Oh my God, there's a lot of things that we're working on right now. Some things I can share and some things I can't share. But the general topic is I actually think AI is changing everything. Um, and it's really, really exciting. I think internally, we're able to essentially build a lot faster. But more excitingly, A lot of the workflows that are really mundane for architects every single day, we can solve a lot faster now. A simple example, like something that we've already launched and it's doing incredibly well. I think similar to an agency model is like typically you have to put out a contract or proposal, you win that contract, and as soon as you win it, you gotta log all that information somewhere. So like you have to figure out like who's the client is, you gotta log how much is the work, how long it takes to do the work. All that's very similar in architecture as well. And then you have to measure against your progress against that work. You can imagine to do this, it's a lot of data entry. You have to like enter things into like multiple fields and you can constantly track against it. At Monograph, all you have to do is just upload your contract. Like our model will essentially take care of everything else.
So AI will just scan the contract and log everything for you.
Everything in terms of like how long it is, what's it going to cost, essentially build a proposed timeline of what it's going to take, and then auto suggest who's available to do it, right? Because like we also do all the staffing and resourcing features for architects as well. So we can say, let's study where everyone's time's going. Let's figure out who's going to be available, and let's propose who's available to jump on this project at what part and what time. It kind of takes a lot of the guessing, a lot of the mundane, tedious tasks away. And all you have to do is upload a contract.
That's cool.
So how does that look on like the back end? Is that just a bunch of workflows that your team has built, or is that you're using like one model for everything, like OpenAI or something? Or
Combination of both. We spent a lot of time building our roll-up tables. So like all the data is essentially aggregated to one level degree higher. So we can scan all that data very, very quickly. That's our workflow layer. So that make sure that whatever is happening, we kind of have like a holistic view for every customer on every project, on every individual. Then we have to layer on top of that with a large language model that essentially can study those workflows and then propose options and then iterate on those options to make sure it doesn't hallucinate. And then at the very final stage, present the best option back to the end user. So it's a combination of like automating the workflows, understanding the workflows, and then layering on it.
this is already built into the platform right now.
This is already built.
What kind of feedback are you getting from customers?
It's incredible. We were just at the AIA National Conference in Boston this summer. It's a huge conference for architects. Over 100,000 people show up every year. And just like incredible feedback. People were blown away. Like it would normally take hours to essentially like sit down, enter all those fields, and it will take many meetings historically to say like, well, how do I resource against this project? Who's available? What time? And do they have the right skill set? All that is now essentially simplified to like, just give me your date, give me your contract, and we'll propose the best option. We're starting to roll similar, let's say, optimizations to workflows across how you build invoices, how do you collect invoices, which projects are most profitable, which projects are starting to slip. And that's because we also have all the invoicing data, we also have all the payments data. So we can start to
Money
get
Gant?
smart. The Money Gant was one of the very first features of what we built when we started Monograph. Surprisingly, the industry never had a really good way to gauge their work. So the story that I normally tell is like, it's kind of like you're driving from San Francisco to Tahoe. It's a 4-hour drive. Imagine making that drive without the gas meter.
Just literally driving with your eyes closed. I don't know when we're gonna. Yeah, okay.
Like it's pretty bad. Like you kind of have your eye, like you're driving, so you kind of know the road and you can see the road, but you don't really know if you should speed up, slow down. You don't know how much gas you have left. The Money Gant is essentially a derivative of that ethos, where we need to give the industry a way to essentially say, here's the pulse. You have a full tank of gas, and your full tank of gas is essentially the size of the contract. And every single time you spend time and money on it, it depletes. So if you're starting to deplete too fast, like the general advice is slow down. And how fast you deplete on your project should be at the same correlation to how long a project takes. This is really, really important. Unlike most agency works, most lawyers, and any other, let's say, professional services, architectural work takes years. So it is substantially harder to now manage a fee if the average duration is 2 years and it can be as long as 10 years.
That makes a lot of sense. So is that like the feature that helped you guys take off?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you also have a newsletter, right? It's called Elevations.
We've taken a couple stabs at newsletters.
Okay.
We do have a newsletter called Elevations. That was one that I was personally writing. I haven't written in quite some time, so shame on me. And then the business has a newsletter that also comes out every Tuesday.
And how big has that been for growing business?
It's been okay, actually. It isn't like our most effective channel. Love the
Something
on it.
related to that, actually, Robert. I feel like you post every single day on LinkedIn,
I do. That's something new
and
this year.
and you're writing all those posts by hand.
Absolutely not.
Okay, but like you're setting them up, right? Like you're doing all of it. You're not outsourcing it to somebody, or are you?
I would say 80% of that work is done by AI. 80% of that work is done by AI. The last 20% is done by my internal team. I'm generally hands off.
And when did you start that strategy,
January 1st.
posting consistent? And have you noticed like a lift in
Massive.
organic and everything? Yeah.
Massive. So there's a couple things that I had like a huge hypothesis around the first of this year. One, I wanted to make sure that we were working our top of funnel much more effectively. And the best way to work on our top of funnel that I believed in at the time was thought leadership straight from me. I also knew that like for us to build an audience over time, consistency matters. So I have to do it, and I have to do it fairly often as I can, and consistently over long periods of time. And only then that you can start to build essentially an audience and the awareness at the top of the funnel. What I also knew is like occasionally you'll hit a few posts that will become viral, right? Like a few posts that will really start to take off. Well, those moments are incredibly important moments because those are the moments that you start to use services like Understory to say, this is something that proves to be really, really successful. Let's boost it. Let's figure out how to get this to a wider audience. Not only that, then that feeds our newsletter and our nurture sequences on the mid funnel. Because now we know that that particular headline and that particular post actually resonates. So that governs how our mid funnel and mid funnel content starts to look like. And by being so consistent at the top, annually speaking, there's at least one post a week. And that feeds our company newsletters and that feeds our mid funnel essentially content strategy. We have an SDR team. So SDR team leans on that mid funnel awareness and that mid funnel, let's say, accounts that we're working on. And then they pull them to the bottom, and then our bottom funnels are AEs.
That's also something I want to talk about is the SDR org that you built out. I think that's pretty incredible. I think fast. And I think, what is it, like 25% of the employees are SDRs or something like that at Monograph?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to learn like how you built that. Like, what was your model? Especially because given you're in a very verticalized industry, you have to like really train the team on exactly how to speak to these architects and all of that. Like how you built that engine.
So last year we had a SDR function that was 100% remote and distributed. And it was somewhat working already because we were getting meetings, we knew our conversion rates. What I knew that we couldn't do anymore was actually optimizing more out of that existing remote team. So also, first of this year, we decided to say we're going to move into an 100% in-person team with the SDR function. There's a couple of reasons why. First reason is I think the latency between information between each rep was too long. Speeding up that information meant that I can get more information and better reps out of every rep faster. So the improvement of the entire team should go from, let's say, a 9-month ramp down to like a 1-month ramp, as long as I keep everyone in the same room and reduce the latency between information transfer. Great. Decided that I wanted to be an in-person shop. Second thing was where. It cannot be in California, unfortunately. I think for an SMB vertical SaaS motion, California isn't the right state or the right talent pool to build that team. But it had to be close enough so I can go all the time. So now we have an SDR office, HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was flying almost every other week to essentially build that team. We went from our first SDR manager hire in February to now 25 SDRs and close to 30 people in Phoenix today. So we were aggressive in our hiring model. and aggressive in terms of like building our education platform and onboarding and sales enablement.
So all those people are local to Phoenix. Like you never relocated anybody?
No. Yeah, I think we really leaned in on believing that the talent was in Phoenix. And Phoenix produced incredible sellers that fit this type of selling motion. Vertical SaaS, SMB, highly transactional, lower ACV with a sales cycle that's under 30 days. And I think, and I really believe this, when you have like high conviction on a particular topic, you can do it really, really fast. It also helps that I was doing it. I didn't have a sales leader either. So during this time, I was also looking for a VP of sales. Tyler's our VP of sales today. He's incredible. But you can move a lot faster if you're the founder, CEO, and initiating something new with high degree of confidence. Then it boils down to execution.
It makes a ton of sense. And I think it also helps that you produce excellent results for your clients. I mean, based on the research that I've done, beyond what we've talked about, beyond what we already know about your business, it looks like your customers report a 21% revenue increase on average and 20x ROI in their very first year of using Monograph. So I feel like that probably goes a very long way in terms of social proof for your SDR team to sell Monograph.
It absolutely helps having a good product. It is, I think, generally speaking, terrible advice to jump into like scale up motion and really spend a ton of time in sales if you haven't hit like product market fit and you haven't hit product parity and you haven't been able to like essentially have those proof points that your customers are very happy it is actually working. Because if not, then your only job is to continue to stay focused on building the product. You're generally going to have a very leaky bucket if you jump too early into a scale up motion because you're trying to sell something that hasn't really hit like a product parity moment and deliver the results that you promised to your customers.
Yeah, and then your reputation's at stake, which is terrible as you're scaling. If you have a bad reputation and you haven't, I mean, ever, but if you have a bad reputation, you haven't reached where you need to get, where the snowball effect starts to occur, you're done.
Practically, like at the end of the day, you want your SDR team to have a really easy job.
Yeah,
Most of their job is hard, right? Like they have to build a lot of pipeline. They have to spend a lot of time on the phones and a lot of time on the emails. You want to make it as easy for them as possible. And one of the best ways to do that is that the product actually works. The customer stories are there. And they don't have to manufacture that. You don't have glaring big holes in the product anymore. Like as a sales leader, then you can say, it's time to go. There's a process we can build. There's an enablement program we can build. We can train. And it's time to scale up.
So it brings me to my next question, Robert. What's your revenue?
We're way past 10 million now, and we're doing doubles every year.
Amazing.
So I think we're gonna have we're gonna finish the year incredibly strong, and then have a really strong 2026.
So good to see. I mean, you're one of our favorite people to work with, so it's nice to see people you really like just thriving and succeeding.
I think at the end of the day, I'm really grateful. Our architects really respect and are getting a ton of value. And at the end of the day, there's a constant framework that I tell my internal team. I continue to remind myself because this is why I believe we'll build an incredible organization. The board works for me. And this is really an important concept. I cannot work for the board. The board has to work for me. I'm an architect by training. And when I say that is what they need to help me calibrate on building an executive team around me. They need to help me find out and see things that I don't see in front of me because I have more experience. They've seen startups before. They're on many other boards. Their only job is to support me. So they work for me. I work for the team. My only job is to enable the team. The team is supposed to tell me what they want to be, how great they want to be. My job is to help them get them there. My job is to support the team. My team is to work for our customers. That's it. It's like you just keep things really, really simple. My team does not work for me. I work for my team. My team works for our customers. And then if all that works well and we constantly remind ourselves, we at least have our North Stars in terms of like how things should work. Especially if we're trying to grow a really, really big company. Like the team cannot work for me. I got to work for the team. And it's always a one-to-many motion. So like the team has to work for all of our customers.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And if you could go back in time and you had to start another business again, would it be verticalized SaaS like you're doing now?
Well, that's a good question. I know how to build for vertical SaaS now. Been doing it. I'm still learning every single step along the way. And there's a high probability that I'll probably still continue to build for vertical SaaS. But if I had to start over exactly today, I would probably start with something that's foundationally AI first. It's an incredible technology. Like, I think starting it as a foundation AI native in terms of whatever problem you're trying to solve is probably where the only thing that would change, because that wasn't an option for me 6 years ago.
That's a great response. So AI native vertical SaaS.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have enough experience to ever touch like a B2C motion, a consumer motion. So like I don't know, nor do I think I would find something that's really interesting. And I do believe it's like, if you don't work on something that you're passionate about, I don't know if you should do it. It's just hard. It's really, really hard.
Way hard.
You got to build a team.
Way-
You got to have tough conversations with the team. You have to figure out product market fit. You have to figure out a go-to-market motion. You're gonna face a lot of hurdles along the way. Like, if you're not instinctively passionate about what you're trying to solve, don't do it. And if you only want to make money, there's a lot of ways to make money. Like, being a founder is probably the most illogical way to make money. Right? Like, because you're essentially you're growing an illiquid asset. Right? Like, Monograph could be worth millions and millions of dollars, illiquid to me. So like, I can't touch it. You might as well just be like an investment banker and like make a ton of cash trading
Yeah.
the AI boom right now.
I had a call with a friend last night who is a VP of sales at a company right now. Yeah, he does pretty well. He's making multi six figures. Like,
Mhm.
he's doing great, right? And he is not happy in his role. And he's not happy, not because he's not making good enough money, or not happy because the company's not great, anything like that. He's had this burning desire to just be a founder, and he's never done it. And he's 35, he's got a kid, he's got a mortgage, he's got a wife, he's got all these different things in life, and he's so terrified to take the leap. And I keep telling him, I'm like, look, if you need to scratch that itch, you need to scratch that itch. But you're taking the hardest risk you could ever do. And when you have that many responsibilities, that's something to factor. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. If you think that's what you need to do it. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. But it's also the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And it's something that I would recommend to anybody when you have the capacity and the freedom to do it. When you don't, know what you're getting yourself into. That's all I'll say.
Here's a hot take. I actually don't think we should have more entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs is like, it's a really tough role. I think we should have a lot of number twos and a lot of number threes, but like the number one person, it's super illogical. And I have a lot of friends that are saying that like, hey, like I want to start something. I have this incredible itch. Like, Robert, what do you think? And I've been hearing this story for like years. And the honest truth is like, if you really wanted to do it, you would have done it already. That's usually the quality of a great entrepreneur.
That's
like,
exactly what I said to him on the phone last night.
You don't ask for permission.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're in charge. You don't ask for permission. And if you have to ask for permission, you shouldn't do it. That's the first sign. You should find a role where you're like really damn close and you're the number two. And you're gonna be so happy. So
True.
happy. Because you're gonna have
Yeah.
enough autonomy, you're gonna be close enough that you're gonna feel like you're part of like building something incredible. And then you also don't have to bear the burden that you're gonna have to make decisions blindly almost all the time. And you almost have to go first before anyone even says, and you have to like essentially not ask for permission. These are some of the core qualities of a great entrepreneur. Like, you can't do that because then you're gonna be slow. And it is the hardest job in any org chart.
It is.
Imagine myself January 1st this year. I'm gonna fly to Phoenix every 2 weeks. I'm gonna build a sales org. Everyone around me is like, Robert, you're an architect and you've never built a sales org. And not only are you gonna build a sales org, you're gonna do it in person in a different city that you've never been to. It's insane.
But you got to do it. But what's funny is the second question he asked after I said all those words to him, and keep in mind, this was like at 10 p.m. last night.
Yeah.
He's literally got a baby. His baby's like 8 months old and a wife. And he just finished everything he needs to do for his other job. And after I say all that, he goes, well, maybe I just come work for you guys instead. I'm like, yeah, see, that's the safer route. That's the safer route. We can have that conversation, but that's the safer route.
Right? Like, I do think sometimes the most incredible people I've ever met that are like incredible entrepreneurs, the phone calls are usually like, Robert, I've already done this. I kind of need help now. Like, it's already started. I'm not going back. I'm going to need a lot of help to kind of like get to the finish line. And it doesn't usually start with like, I need your advice on if I should start. It's usually like I've already started and what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
And I need to finish this. And that's really, really important. I think everyone who's listening is probably in like demand gen, marketing, or in sales. One of my favorite books I think helped is I don't know if you know this. Every New Architecture. Have you heard of it?
I haven't.
No.
Looks like a big book.
It's like a textbook, which I love. It'll cover everything you need to know.
All right, there's a good book recommendation from a very successful founder. So anyone listening, you know exactly where to start.
It it makes things really, really simple. Like, what does an SDR function look like if you're SMB?
Yeah.
What does an SDR function look like if you're mid-market and enterprise?
And do you find that it's actually accurate?
At a very general sense, yes.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lot of nuances that you can't cover because it's unique to every business. But I'll give you, for example, like, should you hire full cycle AEs or not? Well, there's a lot of questions around like, well, what's your sales cycle? Can you ask your AEs to build pipe and close that pipe at the same time? It kind of outlines when does that ethos kind of like make sense and when does it not make sense. If you're highly transactional, which means you have to push a lot of volume of deals, it doesn't ever make sense logically to say AEs build your pipe and close your pipe at the same time and do a lot of it. Like you kind of have to compartmentalize functions now because you're going after volume. Now, if you go after large ACVs, enterprise accounts, it makes a lot more sense that you kind of don't want like a heavy SDR team.
Yeah.
You want your AEs to be a lot more full cycle because it takes a lot longer to nurture and you don't want a ton of handoffs. So it kind of makes that really, really simple. Love the book. You should get it.
Yeah. I'll be honest, my only issue with books is I feel like we live in an age where information becomes outdated so fast. Like we joke all the time. So every time someone recommends me a book, I say, well, first I got to learn how to read. But obviously I know how to read. But books, I struggle with books. I like to read the most up to date. Like when I read anything, the very first thing I look at is when was this written? When was this published? That's my only gripe with books. Unless it's like a general philosophy or something like that, or fiction obviously is fine. But like nonfiction, business related books, I feel like things just change so fast.
I think tactics change all the time.
Yeah.
You should never try to get tactics from like a book or from a podcast or anything like that. I do think frameworks don't change that often.
Yeah.
But
Ali
like,
gave me The Art of War by Sun Tzu like 2 years ago. I think it was a birthday present. I don't remember what it was for,
was
but
it like
sick. It's sick.
everything that I love to learn are usually around frameworks. Like how do I think about life? How do I think about products? How do I think about sales org? What are things done in the past? Do they still apply today?
Yeah.
Frameworks generally change a lot slower.
Yep.
Tactics, I think, changes. What in this era, almost weekly or monthly, right? Like your tactics change all the time, but your frameworks don't. And at
Fair
the end
enough.
of the day, Monograph is still right. Like we're vertical SaaS, we're SMB, highly transactional. Like that doesn't change. How we execute, well, that's going to change fairly often and fairly fast.
Fair enough. So we do have two questions that we like to ask every single guest that comes on this podcast. I think they're the most important questions. So we're at that point. I want to ask you those.
I don't know what they are. What,
You're good. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it.
what's the question?
You're gonna like it. What's your shoe size? No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, 10 years from now, what's one sentence that defines your legacy and the impact that you've made on this world? And it doesn't need to be business related. It can be, but it doesn't need to be.
One sentence that defines my legacy.
And the impact you've made on this world.
My God, Alex, I should have read the doc. Oh my God, one sentence 10 years from now. Spoken from which perspective?
Could be whatever you want.
Like me reflecting on me, or would I?
It could be business, it could be personal, it could be anything.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. So 10 years from now, what's the one sentence that'll define your legacy and the impact that you've made on this world?
I'm thinking a lot about football right now going into the weekend. So, the thing that I would like people to say about me 10 years from now, I care about my team deeply. And if they can call me coach, that'll make me really happy.
Love that. Simple. I love that. That's super impactful too.
Yeah. I'm a big Michigan guy. I'm a big Harvard guy. So like the team. So I see myself as the coach all the time. So if I can get acknowledged 10 years later that like I was an incredible coach, that'll make me incredibly happy.
Love that. And then the last question is, what's the most important advice that you give to an aspiring entrepreneur that you wish you had 6 years ago when you first started Monograph?
What do you have to lose? Nothing. Remember that.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm also like, I'm making a lot of assumptions, right? Like you're in the United States, you're well educated, you're healthy. What do you have to lose? You lose a job, you lose some money. Like go get a job, and the money will come. Money comes and goes. Um, you literally have nothing to lose. It's a country that we don't see the same type of living conditions as other countries in the world. You're well educated. You have a lot of things at your disposal. You can go to the bank. You can get a credit card. You can get money. You can get enough money to get things started. You have nothing to lose.
I love that. Just take a gamble, take a risk on yourself.
You try to think of the worst thing that can happen, and is that really the worst thing? Right? If you're an aspiring entrepreneur, it's like, oh my god, like I lost $5,000. Come on, it's fine.
Yeah,
You're
you'll
like,
be all right.
yeah, you're 21. I was like, I quit so I can do something, so I don't have a job. Great, do it, and if you need a job later, get a job. What's the worst thing that can happen? You cannot, unlike other countries where like, yo, we're in the middle of war, I can die.
Yeah, true. No, when you put things in perspective, you're absolutely right.
Right, like Alex, remember our lunch, we talked about like problems in the Middle East. Yo, like, we don't live there. And like, everyone's well educated. You have food at your disposals and you can walk to any bank and get a credit card at any age almost, I think. Like, you have nothing to lose. Do it.
That's amazing advice. So if you're listening to this, you're on the fence, just fucking do it. Just jump in. Give it a shot.
Yes.
You got nothing to lose.
If you have any questions, call Understory.
Yeah, or Robert. Cool. Well, Robert, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure spending time with you. Hopefully we do it again in person very soon. We should be back in San Francisco probably within 3 or 4 months. So we'll see you soon, man. Pump
Always.
for it. And then we'll talk to you on Slack probably in the next 30 minutes. But
Yes. Elliot and Alex, thanks. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise.